2:17 a.m. Eastern Mediterranean Sea. The surface of the water is calm. Wind speed, 6 knots. Visibility, near perfect. Above that stillness, something breaks the equation. A radar return appears, small, fast, and accelerating. Then another, and another. Within seconds, the display fills with vectors, multiple inbound objects, converging from different angles, different altitudes, different speeds. Some are high, some are sea-skimming. One disappears, then reappears, maneuvering. This should not be happening, because the carrier at the center of this geometry, the USS Gerald R. is not designed to be surprised. Its entire existence is built around one assumption: no missile should ever reach it. And yet, in this moment, the system is being tested by something designed specifically to break it, not with brute force, but with mathematics. Because this is not a single attack. It is a layered problem: timing, speed, saturation, and confusion, engineered to overload the most advanced naval defense system ever built. The question is no longer whether a missile can hit the carrier. The question is whether the system can survive its own limits. And for a brief moment, the answer is not obvious. The Gerald IV does not operate in isolation. It exists at the center of a carrier strike group, a moving network of sensors, weapons, and data links spread across hundreds of kilometers. But geography imposes constraints. The Eastern Mediterranean is not open ocean. It is bounded, layered with civilian traffic, cluttered with electromagnetic noise. The carrier's radar horizon, even with advanced systems, is limited by curvature, roughly 40 to 50 kilometers for low-altitude targets. Sea-skimming missiles exploit this. At Mach 0.9, a missile traveling just above wave height covers 15 kilometers per minute. That means detection to impact could be under 3 minutes. High-altitude threats compress that timeline differently. A ballistic or quasi-ballistic missile descending at Mach 5 or higher reduces reaction windows to seconds. But the real problem is not speed. It is simultaneity. Modern anti-ship doctrine does not rely on a single missile. It relies on salvos, coordinated waves designed to arrive at slightly offset intervals from different bearings, forcing the defense system to split attention. Each interceptor launched is not just a defensive act. It is a resource expenditure, and resources are finite. Missiles aboard escort ships are counted. Reloading at sea is not instantaneous. Even computing power has limits. Tracking dozens of targets simultaneously requires prioritization. This creates a paradox. The more threats introduced, the less attention each one receives. And in that narrowing margin, a single missile only needs one gap. This is the missile problem. Not how to destroy the carrier, but how to create a moment where the system cannot keep up. The first layer of the solution is not a weapon. It is awareness. The Gerald IV defense begins long before any missile is within range. Airborne early warning aircraft, E-2D Hawkeyes, extend the carrier's sensor horizon beyond the curvature of the Earth, flying at 25,000 feet. Their radar can detect targets hundreds of kilometers away. But detection alone is not enough. Data must move. The system relies on cooperative engagement capability, a network that allows ships, aircraft, and sensors to share targeting information in real time. This means a destroyer can fire a missile using data from an aircraft it cannot see. It is no longer a collection of platforms. It is a single distributed system. At the center of this network are Aegis-equipped destroyers and cruisers. Their SPY-1 and SPY. 6 radars track hundreds of objects simultaneously, calculating trajectories, predicting impact points, assigning priorities. The logic is simple. Engage threats as far from the carrier as possible. Create layers. Outer layer, long-range interceptors like SM-2 and SM-6. Mid-layer, medium-range systems. Inner layer, point defense, CIWS, rolling airframe missiles. Each layer reduces probability. Each layer buys time. And time, in missile defense, is everything, because every second gain allows the system to reevaluate, to adjust, to reassign. But here's the problem. This entire architecture assumes something critical, that the incoming threats behave predictably enough to be tracked, classified, and engaged in sequence. And that assumption is about to be tested. The first anomaly appears in the data. One of the inbound objects changes velocity, not gradually, but abruptly. It drops altitude, then accelerates. A maneuver inconsistent with traditional cruise missile profiles. Then another disappears from radar entirely, not destroyed. Masked, electronic countermeasures begin to interfere with tracking resolution. False targets appear, ghost echoes designed to dilute the system's attention. Now the system is no longer solving a clean equation. It is solving a noisy one, and noise introduces uncertainty. Uncertainty forces hesitation. Which target is real? Which trajectory is valid? Which threat must be engaged first? At the same time, the number of inbound objects increases. What was initially a wave becomes a swarm. Different speeds, different altitudes, different guidance systems. Some rely on inertial navigation, others on active radar seekers. One appears to be a decoy. Cheap, simple, designed only to trigger a response. But the system cannot ignore it, because ignoring a threat is the only true failure. Missiles are launched from escort ships. SM-6 interceptors climb rapidly, guided by data from multiple sensors. Mid-course corrections are constant, but the geometry is becoming complex. Interceptors must not collide. They must not duplicate effort. They must be assigned efficiently, because every unnecessary launch reduces future options. And the attack is not over. It is unfolding, layer by layer. If you understand how engineering shapes modern warfare, type proud in the comments, because what happens next is not about firepower. It is about coordination. Detection begins not with a single sensor, but with a network. The E-2D detects high-altitude objects first. Their radar cross-sections are small, but their altitude makes them visible beyond the horizon. Simultaneously, ship-based radars begin tracking lower-altitude contacts as they crest the radar horizon. Each detection is time-stamped, geolocated, and transmitted across a network. Data fusion begins. Multiple sensors observe the same object from different angles. The system correlates these observations, refining accuracy. False positives are filtered. Confidence levels are assigned. Now, the system knows not just that objects exist, but where they are going, and how certain that information is. Data transfer is continuous. High bandwidth links ensure minimal latency. Milliseconds matter, because delay in data is a delay in action. Decision-making is partially automated. Algorithms evaluate trajectories, calculate time to impact, assess threat priority. Targets heading directly toward the carrier are elevated. Decoys, if identified, are deprioritized but never ignored. Human operators oversee this process. They validate, override if necessary, but they do not micromanage. Because speed exceeds human reaction time, weapon assignment follows. Long-range threats are engaged first. SM-6 missiles launch vertically, their boosters igniting instantly. They climb, then tilt toward their targets, guided by inertial navigation updated via data link. As they approach, their active seekers activate, locking onto targets independently. Mid-layer engagements begin next. Shorter-range missiles are fired from closer ships, creating overlapping engagement zones. This overlap is intentional. It increases redundancy. If one interceptor fails, another is already en route. Execution becomes a choreography. Missiles intercept incoming threats at different distances, different altitudes. Explosions occur far from the carrier. Fragments fall into the sea. But not all threats are eliminated at the outer layers. Some penetrate. This is expected. The system is designed for leakage. Inner defenses activate. Rolling airframe missiles launch rapidly, their infrared seekers locking onto the heat signatures of incoming missiles. Close-in weapon systems spin up. Thousands of rounds per minute create a wall of tungsten. At this distance, there is no time for error, no second chance. But even here, the system does not rely on a single method. Soft kill measures deploy. Electronic jamming disrupts missile guidance. Decoys are launched, floating emitters that mimic the carrier's radar signature, drawing missiles away. Now the incoming threats must choose, real target or false one, and that choice determines everything. One missile veers off course. Another loses lock entirely. A third continues, but enters a final layer weakened, confused. It is intercepted within seconds. And then, silence. The radar screen begins to clear. Tracks disappear. Velocities drop to zero. The swarm collapses. The outcome is not dramatic. There is no explosion near the carrier. No visible damage. From a distance, it appears as though nothing happened. But that is the point. The system did not win through a single decisive action. It won through accumulation, layer upon layer of probability reduction. Each interception increased the likelihood of survival. Each second gain allowed another calculation, another adjustment. The missiles were not ineffective. They were sophisticated, coordinated, and designed to exploit weaknesses. But they encountered a system that was not static, a system that adapted in real time, that distributed its functions, that absorbed complexity without collapsing. The attack did not fail because it lacked power. It failed because it could not break the chain. In the end, this was never a contest of speed or strength. It was a contest of systems. The missiles represented a strategy: overwhelm, confuse, saturate, a belief that enough pressure could force a failure. But the defense was not a single point. It was a network. And networks do not fail all at once. They degrade. They compensate. They redistribute. This is the mathematics of modern warfare. Not destruction, but probability. Not force, but coordination. Every sensor, every data link, every interceptor is a variable in an equation, and the outcome is determined not by any single component, but by how they interact. The Gerald R did not survive because it is invulnerable. It survived because it is part of a system that reduces uncertainty faster than the enemy can create it. And in that balance, the advantage becomes inevitable. This was never about missiles versus steel. It was about information versus chaos. And in that equation, mathematics wins.